Okay, so the purpose of this video is to show you some of the power of Illustrator and try to help you conceive it a little bit better now that you have something like this that you're going to try to create some kind of app, um, and the approach you need to take. Really, you need to think about Illustrator as sort of paper and scissors, okay, that you're making these shapes or cutting these shapes out. Um, And if you look at my design, I have this shape, which is sort of my window, and this is sort of the outside edge, the frame. And I have this kind of yellow color that goes all the way to this edge, and then this green color goes all the way to this edge. Now, it would be very convenient if this color ran throughout the entire background, and I just filled that all, created this shape, and filled it all in that color. Then I made this shape, but then what? Is this shape going to then, am I going to have to repeat this edge and hopefully cut it out the same exactness and just layer it on top of it? Um, or will I just do this color down behind this if I was doing it in like cut paper to where, this green grass is going to overlap on top of this yellow, and this yellow just kind of overlaps behind it, and but then again this edge would have to run along the same edge. Anyway, I hope you understand what I'm getting at here. And there's some ways of going about this with Illustrator that I'm going to show you, which can be a stretch in terms of trying to understand it, but once you understand it, then hopefully it'll make sense, okay, once you see it and once I explain it. So essentially, I'm going to make this is essentially your positive area, and this is sort of your negative area. I'm actually going to make an outside frame for this, make basically a square, and then I'm going to make this sort of rounded square. It'll be on two different layers, and then I'm going to merge them together, and then I'm going to delete the positive and leaving an opening in the square. Okay, so that's going to be the process. Okay. So first off, let's create two new layers. I'm going to create, one's going to be the positive, one's going to be the negative. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lock the negative. I want to only work on the positive area for the moment. So I'm going to click on the P for the pen tool. I'm going to go none for the stroke. And now I'm going to start laying in my path. I'm just going to go ahead and lay in these anchors as I go all the way around. I know it's straight along the sides and then it just curves along the corners, and I'm just going to complete this outside shape. And then I'm going to go back and do Shift C on my keyboard, and then I'm going to go back and convert these to control handles where the anchors had no control handles, and start laying that in. Actually, as I did this, I should have held down my shift key as I was putting out my anchors, and that way I could have ensured that they were vertical and horizontal. But I didn't do that. That is a note. All right. So I can't touch it anymore with this tool because it will delete my control handles or break them. So I have to switch to my A key, which is my direct select. And if I need to go in and make any other adjustments, I'll need to use that. So I think down here, I was out a little bit. So I'm going to just nudge this in just a little bit. And this is where I could have used, again, the shift key and that would ensure this was directly over one another. So I'm sure anybody who does this for a living could run circles around me and make this very precise. I'm sure there's probably a way to do this to where the roundedness is pretty much just like a circle, and just make it just so precise, I'm sure. Okay. But here we are. So I get this part done. I'm going to go ahead and fill it in with not this green. I'm going to fill it in with white, and I'm going to say none for the stroke. Okay. And now I'm going to lock that layer. Okay. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to unlock my negative, and I'm going to select it. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to go here and select this rectangle tool, and I'm going to fill it with black, and I'm going to say none on the stroke. I'm going to come up here to this corner. I'm going to hold down my shift key so I get a square, and I'm going to go in all behind this and release it. Now, right now it looks like as if I have a hole in this, but it's just this shape sitting on top of the positive sitting on top of the negative. Okay. Now, I really do want to make a hole in this. Okay. Now, it's going to mean I'm going to have to sacrifice my positive shape though. And I don't know if I want to do that. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to actually duplicate that. I'm going to click on it, hold it, drag it down to this new layer tool and release it. And I made a copy. So I'm going to sacrifice my copy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut off the positive, the original, the copy. I'm going to unlock it. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go Command A to select all. Now notice this square is selected and also this rounded square, because you can see the color of the anchors and the contour, right? So this is going to be a new thing, something you've never seen before. And I'm going to use, now it doesn't matter that this is not highlighted, it is selected. Okay, this layer is selected as far as the layer on the layers. It doesn't matter if this isn't highlighted. It's actually over here when I selected all, it selected all the layers that were being shown. Now, you're going to need the Pathfinder. Okay, if you don't see Pathfinder, it looks like this icon. It might be over here. I just pulled it out. You might have to go to Window and go down to Pathfinder to get that to come out. Okay, all right. So there is something, these things do some very special things, okay, in terms of what they do with shapes. Just even if you could zoom in and look at those and notice what they're doing in terms of how they look over one another. You know, it says outline, it says crop, it says merge, it says trim, that says divide, unite, minus, front, intersect, exclude. So all this is in terms of what's going to happen with these shapes whenever you click on these things. We're going to use merge. That's about the only one I know about that I've used very frequently in the past in my experience. And we're going to merge those. So click merge. All right. So what we've done, this, first of all, let's talk about your layers here. That black square that was in your negative area actually jumped up to this positive copy. I would have thought since this was selected, actually it would have come down here. But anyway, this layer is basically useless at this point. Okay. So let's do this. I'm going to, because if I cut this off and on, it's not showing us anything. I'm going to actually delete this, but then rename this one negative. Okay, this is going to be our actual negative. okay? Our little opening in our frame, okay? Now, what I'm gonna have to do, these two shapes are now on the same layer, okay? And what's happened is this white shape has sort of replaced the black area that was within the square. So they are sort of united. And what I want to do is I want to delete this area. But if I delete this area right now, it's also going to delete this area because they're grouped. Okay, so I'm going to have to do is go up to Object, Ungroup. Okay, now remember that. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my selection tool, my direct selection tool, and I'm going to unselect everything by clicking out here. Then I'm going to go inside here, click on the white, and then hit delete. Okay, so what that's done is has opened this up and created a opening within the square that we had. Okay, all right, and that's going to be very useful in a couple of ways. Remember what I was telling you about my yellow and my green? I could take this yellow and I don't have to worry about this edge at all. I could just make some yellow square that goes in behind all this, or a rectangle. And then I can make my grass shape come out here and come through here and then come down and out here. And think of this as sort of a mat, a picture mat that you put over a piece of artwork before you put in the frame. And this is just something you just lay down on top of your artwork and you see it through that little window. Okay. Now later what we can do is use this actual window opening to actually cut out the shapes within this. Pretty savvy stuff, pretty advanced. Like I said, Illustrator is pretty different, okay, in terms of how you work. It's more about cut and paper kind of stuff, okay? All right, so at this point, all I want to do really is I want to lock that, and I can just proceed forward and do about it however way you want. You could do it this way, just like what I said, or the beginning way where um, you just go in, make this yellow. If this is your got a piece of artwork like mine where you got two colors touching the edge, showing the same edge. Um, and I can put this yellow that goes down behind this on a layer below, put the green as a layer on top, and just draw out this shape and then do this shape and have it on top of the yellow. I may do it both ways just to show you what the options are. But I wanted to show you this so then you could use that. Now, if I cut this positive back on, and I cut my negative off, you can see I still have this shape and I could use that shape potentially. You know, I don't know. I just didn't want to delete it because I'd already created it. I didn't want to lose it. If it might be something I might want to use, I don't know, in the creation of this. Because I guess, by showing, all right, so let's say I want to do an outline. Okay, I'm gonna show you that real quick. Let's say I don't want to do a fill, I want to do a stroke. So if I do a stroke on this and I get rid of the fill, okay, I need to have this on and I need to have it selected. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of my fill and I'm gonna give it a stroke. And I want to have an outline. Your app might have an outline around it. Okay. So let me make this stroke a certain color. All right, okay, here we go. Let's just say I'm gonna go with blue. So let's say I make my stroke at blue, and I gotta now increase the size. Okay, so I'm doing my stroke. I'm giving my app an outline. But look what my outline's doing. That's the only thing about stroke is filling in and encroaching on this, which is good. That might be what I want. I want like an outline around, but this is the outside edge of my app. But look what it's doing. It's expanding out this way too. Okay. So what I can do, let me just shrink it down a little bit more. If I cut this back on and put it on top, which is where it really should be, look what it's done. It just put this outline on the inside, okay? And then later I could do something which you'll, I'm a little more savvy. And so that way, if let's just say, let me change my negative back to a white now. Let me select it first. Go and make that white. No stroke. Okay, so kind of see what I'm talking about? Now I got outline on the inside of my app. But if I do it, by the way I was doing it, I got this big fat outline if I take off my little frame I made to lay on top. Okay. All right. Well, I hope that helps. Maybe some of you will come across this. It'll help you, and I'll point you to it, and I'll add this video to our app icon assignment.